I did all the things. I checked all the boxes, but I feel like shit. I went to dental school. I graduated. I opened my practice. I married the guy I was supposed to marry. I had the children, but I feel like shit. Like, how is that? Dentistry is what broke me. And then dentistry is what found me. It's a field that I didn't choose myself. I'm Indian, right? And so it's either doctor or dentist. With all the ups and downs in dentistry and experiencing burnout, I wouldn't have gone on that path of self-development.
Burnout as women, having to have it all together and then having to really ask ourselves deeper questions about who we are. My guest today is a pioneer and one of the top, most lauded professionals in the field of endodontics. Her name is Dr. Sonia Chopra.
There's so much more that my life is supposed to be about than just these four walls of my practice that don't even allow me to connect with my family. And I realized I had everything all wrong. Like, my priorities were wrong. And I just needed a radical shift in who I was and who I was being.
That's a lot of pressure. Most people will just keep going. They'll blame it on everybody else. What made you think, I need to take personal responsibility for all of this?
Yeah, so.
Hey loves, do me a quick favor and hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you are tuning into this. It helps grow the show more than you know. Thank you so much again and enjoy. Can you just take us through that journey of yourself? Because now you tell people how to advocate for their own health and their own bodies. And you've been this pioneer in the endodontic world, which is amazing. So
Dentistry has been just like my biggest part of my journey. It has been my darkness, and it's also led me to the light. Like, without it, with all the ups and downs in dentistry and experiencing burnout, I don't think I would be here. I wouldn't have tapped into my spiritual side. I wouldn't have, gone on that path of self-development.
Yeah.
But I had to go through a grueling 4 years of school, then also do a residency, move to a place that I didn't know anybody.
Because where did you grow up?
So I grew up in upstate New York.
Okay.
I did my dental school at the University of Maryland. I then moved to New York City after dental school, and I did a 1-year residency. And I was like, I just want to live 1 year of my life in New York City. I want to experience this energy.
As everyone wants to and does, right?
And I got stuck there for 3 years. But literally the first day that I moved in there, I went to Spain and Portugal for a month backpacking. After I graduated, I literally graduated, moved my stuff to New York, put my stuff down, went to Spain and Portugal, came back the night before my orientation of my residency, and walked into the hospital building in Brooklyn, New York. And that's where I met my husband.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
was he also doing?
He was doing his residency there. And
Okay.
I was just like, I had just broken up with a boyfriend. I was ready to just be free. And boom, I meet this Indian guy, like handsome Indian guy.
Yeah.
And
you guys are so cute.
And I've never dated an Indian guy. So I was like, whoa, what's happening here? And then he happens to be Punjabi too. And so
That's
I was
like another plus.
How is it that, like, we're from the same village?
Are you
serious? I mean, that's just kind
Yeah,
of
of course.
Joke. But
it's...
but we're Punjabi, Khatri, Hindu dentists. Like, it doesn't get any more aligned than that. And so I met him.
Shout out to Vivek.
Yeah, such a good guy. And from there we decided, well, he wasn't really sure about me for a few years. We dated. And then I was like, well, I want to specialize. So I specialized in endodontics, which is root canals, which I know there's a lot of root canal haters out there, but I'm here to defend my craft.
We'll get into it.
Yeah. And I moved to South Florida. My residency was in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, nice.
And
it's a great place to be.
Yeah. And then Vivek moved to Charlotte, North Carolina at the time. So we were long distance for 2 years. And I did my studies, and then he had proposed to me while I was there. So then I moved to Charlotte after. And I couldn't find a job. It was 2008, so the economy was really bad, and nobody was looking for an associate at the time. And so I was either going to be unemployed or forced to open my own practice. So I did a startup dental practice. I had no clue.
Oh, you did a startup in 2008?
2008, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I didn't know anybody in my area. I had no community yet. And I just kind of dove in. I was like, I'm in survival mode. There's nothing else for me to do. And
and it's crazy because one of probably a few females.
Oh, at the time, there was nothing. So this is like 16 years ago. There was nobody. I looked little. I mean, I still look little. Even 16 years into it, people don't think I'm the dentist. And people are like, what are you going to do for my practice? So I literally couldn't get a job. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I'm going to start this business. And I had to first go through construction. I had no idea how to do that. Mm-hmm. And then I had to find a team, build a team. I had no idea how to do that.
So hard.
I really was a bad leader. And that's where my darkness showed up because...
Did you have like one of those like revolving door practices?
Yeah. And I couldn't understand that it was me at the time. Like I had no idea. And then I started to have babies. And I ended up having 3 kids during this. And my practice was growing no matter what. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I couldn't handle all the things. And then I broke. And dentistry is what broke me. And then dentistry is what found me. And it's a field that I didn't choose myself. I'm Indian, right? And so
tell us about that.
It's either doctor or dentist. I had those were my choices. And I picked dentistry because I was always the dental patient. I was actually born without 8 teeth.
You were?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I was missing 2 of my front teeth, so I had a big gap. Dentistry has always had a big impact for me, personally and professionally. Like, I didn't love my smile. I did a lot to restore my smile because I had a lot of missing teeth. And then I had this massive toothache when I was 17 years old. I had just graduated high school, and my mom was hell-bent on sending me to college with a full set of teeth. And right after I got all that dental work, I started to develop this pain, but it was a pain that was not localized. It was very vague, but it was excruciating. And nobody could diagnose it. And I went on this wild goose chase of like different providers. And I eventually saw like about 7 different doctors, both medical and dental. And nobody could diagnose my pain. And then they're like, you need to just take this tooth out, even though they didn't know if that was the tooth, but they just took it out. Oh, gosh. And then I still have my toothache.
No.
So for me, like, diagnosis is really key. Like, you can't do anything until you understand what the real cause is. Yeah. And then finally they referred me to an endodontist. And that endodontist did a root canal on me, got me out of pain, made me trust my body again, because through this whole process, people were telling me my pain was all in my head. And I was like, this hurts. This really hurts. And I don't know where it's coming from. It was just referring all over my head and neck. And he was the coolest guy. He had this long ponytail. He was like this surfer dude. But the way he handled me, the way he taught me to trust my body, like, it really empowered me. And he got me out of pain. And I was like, I went through that for a reason.
Yeah, that's a core memory. That's not
going to
not going to leave you.
Yeah. So that event is what propelled me to pick dentistry over medicine. My mom and my brother are both physicians. So it was a heavy medical household.
Oh my goodness.
And I never loved, like, my mom's an anesthesiologist. And so I never loved the fact that she could never be at my dance recitals and stuff like that. And so I knew that was important to me because of how I felt as a girl growing up. Sure. And I wanted to have a little bit more control over my lifestyle. So I picked dentistry over medicine.
Smart move.
Yeah. Yeah. And so throughout dental school, I was always wondering, like, about my own tooth story. Like, why did that happen to me? And I was very inquisitive, and that's kind of what guided me to the specialty of endodontics. And so after working for a few years as a general dentist in New York City, I moved to Fort Lauderdale while my husband, well, he was my fiance at the time, moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. And we were long distance for 2 years. And it was nice because he would come to South Florida. We would be at the beach. I would study Sunday night to Thursday really hard.
Yeah.
And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, like,
party it up.
Yeah, we would be together. And then Sunday he would leave and I would go back to studying. We did that for 2 years. I moved to Charlotte, had to start my own practice, and found the darkness. But growth all at the same time. And it's really, you're actually a part of why I even got to self-development.
No way.
I was thinking about this the other day.
No way.
It is kind of, like, don't think I'm a creepy stalker.
No,
but
no.
It's a funny story.
I love the alignment.
So, you know Shaquila.
Yes.
Okay, whose husband's name is also Vivek.
Yes.
And you'll see I call him Vivek interchangeably. Sorry, not to confuse anybody, but we were friends. She lived in Charlotte at the time.
Yeah.
And so we would be meeting up at coffee. So obviously, like, her, like, Instagram was like top of my algorithm at the time, right? So I was just honest, like, Instagram scrolling day. And there's a picture of you and her.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, who's this? So I click on you.
I think we did a VIP day with Shaquila. Yeah.
And it was around 2018 because I remember clearly it was my 10-year anniversary. And I was like, I really want to go to Bali this year for my 10-year anniversary. I clicked on your picture and then I just was like, oh, who's this girl? And then I kept scrolling and there was this picture of you at A-Fest.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, well, this looks fun. What's this? So then I click on A-Fest. And then I was like, oh, what is this? And then it's like the next one's in Bali. And I was like, this is weird. So then I just applied and I got accepted and we went. And I was like, where am I? I just showed up and like all these people are hugging for a really long time.
For a really long time.
For a really long time. My husband's looking at me like hugging this random dude. I don't know where I am. I have no idea. But all of a sudden, I felt like
you two fit the part, though.
I was like,
in all of the ways.
I'm at home, and I just couldn't get enough from there. And I just started to consume and learn and grow and better myself. And as a result, my world started to change.
It's so fascinating. It's so fascinating because and I so receive, and I'm so glad that I think when you're open, the universe just gives.
Yeah.
And I think that because I've heard similar stories from a lot of folks in the medical field. Like it just, because I mean, I used to coach a lot of burnt out doctors, dentists, lawyers, engineers. And when I was doing that, I think I brought a lot of people to A-Fest as a result, or Mind Valley things as a result, just because of proximity. And I think it goes to show, because I think a lot of times when we go through the traditional conventional schooling, we only know like the one side. And I resonate with your story so much. It's hard when you go, you know, you're lauded on all of the right answers first in dental school, and then you get out, and maybe some of us go and get our MBAs, but most don't, and they go into practice or private practice. I mean, similar to your story, I worked at a bunch of different places, and of course nobody took me seriously because I looked really young, and there's not very many female dentists. Right. And then you start to do it on your own, and then you're kind of like, whoa. Yeah. Whoa, I don't know anything. Wait, I need a plumber for the thing that's broken. Like somebody needs to fix this now. Okay, this chair is like leaking, you know, it's just like, and then some, like the insurance thing came back. You didn't get paid because somebody goofed up the billing code. And then I just remember it was like day in and day out for at least the first year. I think I was in that practice, my own, for probably 12 hours a day. Yeah. I didn't have kids at the time, and it was just so, you're on a steep learning curve. Yep. And I can't imagine if you're also, and you have to trust people, because it's not, you're not a solopreneur. No, you are having to trust other people. And I don't know about you, but I know I definitely learned a lot about betrayal, about embezzlement, about how to have brave conversations, how to fire fast. That was my MBA. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I needed
it's in the field.
MBA.
Yeah.
It's in the wild. Yeah.
It was hard for me. Like I couldn't cope with all, like, my body was changing. I was getting big. I was hormonal. I was all these things. And then I had all these new relationships and learning how to manage my emotions and all the things all kind of happening at the same time. It was a lot of internal work for me.
It's so much. I mean, at least we can wear masks. So if you're so angry and you're pissed that your assistant came in late, or and then your sweat is just dripping down, and you have the glasses on, the mask, the white coat. Yes. Sweaty armpits underneath. Oh, I remember. Oof. all of that. But I wanted to just bring it back home to say, because we have such a linear path, and then you get access to the first taste of what a personal growth conference and what we're talking about is A-Fest by Mind Valley. And that was where I met my husband, not at that particular one, and so many amazing people in just one place.
Yeah.
But a lot of people come from these traditional careers because we have a lot of, we know what we wanted to do and wanted to do, but then there is a breaking point. And I want to get to that breaking point for you. And how was that, where you're going through this burnout, you have babies, and you have 3, and you had them 3 years apart, right? Or is it 6 years?
Around, it was
3
like
years?
2.5, and yeah, so
2.5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. You at one point you had 6 under 6.
I was pregnant for a decade. It felt like my entire 30s, I was just pregnant.
And so when you see something that you're like, wow, people are just happy and positive.
Yeah.
How was that, and how did that contribute to getting out or shifting the way you see patients, the way you operate your own life and your relationship with your amazing hubby?
Yeah. So I'll never forget the day I was just literally, I couldn't even get off the ground. There was a time in my life where I couldn't get out of my robe. I was just so upset, depressed. I couldn't get my mind out of how to fix my practice. It was 2016. I had just gotten back from my maternity leave with my 3rd child. And I was actually feeling blessed because my first maternity leave, I had about 2 weeks. And then I had to go back to work. My second, I got 6 weeks, which was nice. And then my third, I got 8. So I felt really great. But then I went back to work, and I found that the ship just wasn't running without me. And I found $40,000 of unopened insurance checks in a drawer.
Oh my gosh.
Under my partner's watch. And I was like, oh my gosh, how do I fix this? And I was so upset. I'm like, here I am supposed to be at the pinnacle of my career. I did it. I went to dental school. I got in, I graduated, I opened my practice. I married the guy I was supposed to marry. I had the children. I did all the things. I checked all the boxes. But I feel like shit. Like, how is that? How is this? Like, I went to the 23rd grade. Okay.
You
and
did.
I don't feel good about it. And I was like, there's so much more that my life is supposed to be about than just these 4 walls of my practice that don't even allow me to connect with my family. And I realized I had everything all wrong. Like, my priorities were wrong. And I just needed a radical shift in who I was and who I was being. And that was it. That was like the last day. And then I just started on change. And I knew that the reason why there was turnover in my practice was me. The reason why we fought in our marriage was because of me. The reason why I got frustrated as a mother was because of me. And I had to change. So that's what I did.
But I just want to stop you there, because that is huge. And the amount of undertaking that we as women and children of immigrants, however we want to call it, Punjabi women, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And you had also grown in a tiger parenting household.
Yes.
Your parents are also, everyone's a physician in your family. So that's a lot of pressure. And then to carry that pressure on into your generation, and then to kind of see it for what it is, most people will just keep going.
Right.
And they won't just stop and say, wait, hold on, why is my life like this? They'll blame it on the hubs. They'll blame it on everybody else. What made you think that, I need to take personal responsibility for all of this?
So I was blaming. I will take full ownership of that. I realized I had to stop blaming. But I think it was finally like sitting down and reading like the exit interviews for my employees, and like I actually had a bad review about myself, about me on Indeed.
Oh gosh.
And
those are the worst.
But like I look back on it, like I was so crushed and hurt, but it was probably my greatest gift.
Yeah. You're like, wait, is there some truth to that?
Yeah, like I was the common denominator. That's the truth. And I finally accepted it. And then I started to develop this self-awareness. I love myself. Like I knew my intention, but I wasn't being perceived by the world with that intention. And so I had to start understanding like my personality. So I started to look at like my Enneagram, my DISC assessment, my human design, like how, because I was like, I like who I am, because I know deep down I am a good person. But for some reason, I'm showing up differently to the world. And I started to...
What's your human design?
I'm a 5-1 generator.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
And I'm
similar.
I'm an Enneagram 8, and I'm a hard 8. And so I'm incredibly direct. And a lot of people don't like that.
Yeah, no, they don't.
They don't. And I'm a D on the disc.
Yeah,
so,
dominant, yeah.
So it's...
What's your horoscope?
I'm a Sagittarius.
Okay, fire.
Hardcore Sagittarius.
Like, do you know your ascending and your moon?
I'm a Capricorn rising.
Okay.
I
Sag
don't
and
know.
Cap rising, yeah.
I don't know the other part, but I've done a lot of work to try to uncover my quirks and my personality, and sharing this with the people that I love, whether it's my family or it's my team, and saying like, hey guys, it's in the stars.
You're gonna get shit done. I mean, I'm a D. I'm a 5-1 generator. I'm gonna generate. It's gonna go.
Like to keep moving.
But you're also a leader as well. You're just like natural born leader. Yeah.
So I needed to understand myself a little bit, and
not everyone's gonna be as smart as you as your,
right.
Yeah.
And I learned that this was important in my relationships, and also understanding not just myself but other people in the same way. And that has really started to strengthen my relationships. So much so that I learned the ability to trust and delegate to my team, so I could create the space for my family instead of always being working on my business or in my business. I had time to work on my business, and then I trusted people. I started to grow other leaders, which was wonderful. And then now one thing I'm super proud of is like, I really thought that working less in my business was going to mean I was going to make less, but I found a way to make the same amount of revenue in 5 days a month as I was doing in 5 days a week.
Isn't that amazing?
It's
amazing when you get to that point in your career, specifically talking anybody who has like a brick and mortar, but that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
I bet you could do it in 2 days a month.
I probably could.
Yeah. And I mean, it also depends on what's lighting you up these days too.
Yeah. And sometimes that shifts, like that can change for sure. But it gave me space to create like a side hustle, and this passion that what I think that my passion project has done for me is really make dentistry my own. Not the way it was given to me.
Right.
And learning how to solve a major problem in this industry that is going to help benefit the world.
So it's almost like your kind of dark night of the soul, the full breakdown to break through period. This was the gift that then allowed you to go inward, essentially.
Yep.
And then with that, what were some of the initial factors that you did to kind of like climb out of that hole? And I'm just thinking for anybody that's watching this on YouTube or listening to this and maybe has been in their career for quite some time, and they're feeling they're kind of like, okay, I'm in that. What she's going through, what she's explaining, like I feel like I've checked all the boxes. I've done everything the world wants me to do. Optics look really good on paper. Yeah. I look really freaking good on paper. You should see their family. Their family looks, beautiful family inside and out. You guys look like brown Ken and Barbie with your 3 kids. It's beautiful. And you were going through this on the inside.
Yeah.
And so for anybody that's watching you and even contemplating, what advice do you have for them to, like, what is that first step that you did that had you climb out of this darkness and hole? I mean, obviously after saying like, okay, it's me, common denominator is me, reading the reviews, it's me, my relationship, it's me. Then after that, what tend to happen?
So it can be as easy as just listening to a podcast. That's what it started. As a working mom, I have very little time. I felt like my car was my safe spot. That commute to and from work, and I have a very short commute. It's only 12 minutes, and I kind of wish it was longer. But really just utilizing that time wisely. Time has been my biggest strength. So I would learn on my way to work. I would learn on my way home. And then I invested in some coaches who really made me understand myself. I did things like Lifebook, and I zoomed out and I looked to see like, okay, how can I be intentional with my life? And what do I need to do? What action steps do I need to put in place in order to achieve that life? And that was a huge mindset shift. And I needed to do that to create time. And so I knew that going to work, being in my practice every day was not serving me. And if I wasn't being lit up, then I wasn't serving my patients as well. So I started to, I say every child that I had, I took a day off from the practice. Baby 1, I took 1 day off. Baby 2, I took 2 days off. I mean, I was still working essentially, but in a different way. And I was optimizing.
You weren't actually seeing patients.
Right. I was optimizing things. I was growing my team. I was training them so that they could support patients in a better way.
So you became the business owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I finally figured it out. I figured out what like proper leadership was.
It's a hard skill.
It is. Because
we come with, and shout out to all the dentists, the doctors who actually go out and buy their own practices, the chiropractors, it's a lot to navigate the world of like business ownership. But then when you figure out like, oh, I don't have to be in it.
Yeah.
I don't have to be in it. Wait,
yeah.
I can hire really amazing, good people.
Yeah.
That's when it tips. That's when it changes.
Yeah.
But your leadership has to be so strong.
Right.
In order to have that. And that's what you
through consistency and like boundaries. It's funny because people can call us women a bitch, but
we have way more.
I just identify myself as a woman with boundaries.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Like, that's what I identify with. I don't identify myself as the bitch. I actually don't enjoy being a bitch because that's the energy that I don't really want to hang out in. But I do have boundaries. And
you have these expectations.
Yeah.
I mean, Capricorn rising. I'm a Capricorn rising too, so I get it.
Yeah.
I fully get it. And you like things a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah. As we all do.
It's okay.
Yeah. And it's great to own that, I think. And the thing is, when we're talking about female leaders, I think it's hard sometimes for the team to think then you're their friend or your
right.
best friend. And that I think was the hardest to learn as a business owner, as a leader,
mm-hmm.
is everybody you hire. And because we look younger, we are younger, you started young.
Right. And we're like, I'm naturally like fun, right?
Yeah.
Some people are like, you're Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like in the office, I'm like hardcore, consistent protocol SOP woman, and then you leave and you go to happy hour with me and I'm a totally different laid back person. And I love that about myself. I love that I can shapeshift. And it's hard for, I think, other people who don't know how to do that to accept that. And I just slowly train people like, this is who I am.
Yeah, and for anyone that is out there trying to figure out their identity in the workplace, what advice do you have for them? Because I feel like some people are watching this and they're like, yeah, but maybe they won't respect me if they see that I had a fun side. Like there was a point where I only played classical music in my office for fear that, oh my gosh, what if these patients like judge me because I'm playing EDM? And then I remember vividly the day after I told everyone in my office that I was going through this painful divorce, broke down. It was a whole thing. And then I'm like, you know what do I have to hide?
Yes.
Like, bring on the Swedish House Mafia. Let's go. LFG, Rihanna, let's go. So, and then it was like such a different vibe and energy.
Yeah.
But what was that?
I mean, that's a good one. I play Sophie Tucker. Everyone knows on Mondays you're going to hear some dance music in my presence. So that is my jam when I'm working. And I started to really be, I think, authentic in who I was, but also like doing vulnerable based leadership, like showing my team that I was human, right? Something about being pregnant actually humanized me to both my team and my patients. They're like, oh, she is actually like a real being with a heartbeat. And I wasn't afraid to show my team when they hurt me anymore. Like I didn't have to always be this strong woman. I let them see me break.
Yeah.
And I started to share with them my emotions. And that's what really created some of the bonds. Now, there's still some people who I don't really connect with yet because they really haven't taken the time to get to know me. But the ones that have taken that time, we're like sisters. I actually just went to Paris.
Oh, wow.
With 3 of my team members.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, as friends.
For the Olympics?
No, it was before. They was getting ready, so I saw the setup.
Oh, my God.
But I think that's to me, that was a pinnacle point of my career, to be able to do that.
To let your guard down because you know you're going to be accepted no matter what.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing. I think that now I meet young women who because they're just on their own journey, either they have a chip on their shoulder, they have something to prove, they want to be taken seriously. So then they're very like hard in their approach. And part of me is like, no, you don't have to be like, we'll respect you more if you just let your guard down. Like there's so many different facets of what you can be, but it comes with this like conditioning and programming of good girls aren't supposed to do that. Smart girls aren't supposed to do that. Leaders aren't supposed to be vulnerable and let your guard down.
Yeah. I mean, I've even started to impact the way that I dress. Like if I'm on a speaking gig and I'm supposed to be buttoned up at a dental society meeting, like I'm starting to look a little different and I'm okay with that. And again, just embracing my true authenticity has been really important.
Yeah, and your femininity.
Yeah. And F-bombing when I need to,
Yes.
it's okay. Like,
oh, can we talk about that? Yeah, because I think I used to get so... I remember there's like a picture of me in my office where I would not wear any makeup on. I would pull my hair back. I'd try to look as much as I could like a guy. And, because I was in Chicago, so I would only wear like turtlenecks. I felt like I was that girl who started that blood company. She only wore like black turtlenecks because she wanted to be like Steve Jobs. I forget her name. I mean, the company folded, but there's like a whole documentary on it now. I'm blinking out. But anyways, and I would dress like that because I saw the senior dentist, and he was in his 60s. And I'm like, oh, maybe if I could never look like a 60-year-old white man.
Right.
I could never do that. Somehow in my mind, I thought I could. But you have to, I think, allow people to see who you really are and make that decision. And if they don't like you for who you are, actually, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Then it's like, bye-bye. Then they're not wasting anybody's time.
Yeah. And being okay with letting that go and shedding that, I think is so important.
Do you think it's because of this like people-pleasing tendencies that women tend to acquiesce or they collapse in their own essence of what their leadership could be like?
Sometimes. I also think that there's just societal kind of constructs that make us say, okay, well, this is the way it's always been done and this is the way we need to continue to do it. I remember one day I showed up to give a lecture at a dental KOL meeting. It was a conference. It was out in Palm Springs. And I showed up. I had just come back from MVU, Croatia. I came back a day early to fly to Palm Springs to give this lecture about how I was changing my life. I started taking a month off every year to connect with my family, and I was sharing that journey. And the outfit that I wore was like a crop top and like a high-waisted skirt. And I really pissed off this one woman.
Of course you did.
And she could not stop talking about it apparently at her table. I came to know because my colleagues ended up telling me about it, but it was this woman who couldn't believe I had the audacity to show up and not like a power suit. And I was like, you know what? This is what I'm going to be.
Like a Clinton power suit? Oh, boy.
And it's okay if you are not aligned with it, I'm not asking you to be, and that's okay. You do not need to be a part of my field.
But here's the thing, though, that it's just you have so much scrutiny because we're supposed to be dressing like men, and we are not men. And that's why, I mean, it just... I remember those days so hard that you would get the look if you looked different. And when I was in my unapologetic phase, which didn't last very long because then, shortly after I decided to sell my practice. But this one was when I was just not giving a flying F. I would go to those conferences and I would just like you. Yeah. And the comments, would come. I don't think it was like, all right, it's too bad you're not embracing and you can't embrace because you think a certain way. So for anybody that's watching this, we just want to give you permission to let your freak flag fly.
Yeah. Absolutely. And eventually those things are going to die off. I see it changing. The dental school classes are becoming more female than male. So there is a shift that is happening. And there's becoming more and more acceptance. The old things, the old ways, the old beliefs, they are dying off. And with time, this will be normal. And
I can't believe that this is not normal already, because, I love the outfit that you have on.
Thanks.
And I'm like, wow. Okay. You have 2 daughters.
Yeah.
What would you say to them now, and how are you parenting differently, knowing that you started your leadership career and you've done so much outside of dentistry kind of in your journey, and we'll get to that in a second. But what is your take on parenting your daughters versus how you were parented with your physician mama?
Yeah, I want my girls to know that it's safe to have a voice. And I think that's the one thing that I was never told when I was a little girl. So I kept quiet. I remember not ever wanting to raise my hand because I always thought I was wrong. But then when the answer was given by another student, what I was thinking was actually right. And I was like, oh, why didn't I raise my hand? And it was because I was afraid to have that voice. So if I can teach my girls to really be strong, be brave, and have that voice, then I know I did something right.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So you are known as one of the pioneers in endodontics.
Yeah.
And in saving teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And I would probably say I'm very afraid of you in getting a root canal.
Most people.
And most people would probably say the same. What is your vision and your mission with this work now? Because you just started an online school that teaches dentists to get better at their root canal practice if they choose to do that. Mm-hmm. So why did this come about? Why this next phase into online world? And what do you want to share to people say to people that don't share the same beliefs as you about root canals and endodontics?
Yeah, so I consider myself a tooth saver and a tooth healer. And I really believe that we were given teeth for a reason, and that reason is not just to take them out. I do believe we need to give teeth a chance because our teeth were given to us so that we could nourish our bodies, we could hydrate our bodies, we can have confidence, and we can attract people into our lives. Like, teeth are really important. They help us breathe. They give us, they open our airway. And I think they're taken for granted. Mm-hmm. I think they're taken for granted by both dentists and people.
Oh, that we could just take them out.
Right. Just put an implant in there. But what if the implant doesn't work? Because implants aren't 100% successful. And there's so many teeth that are just taken out for no reason that can be healed. Mm-hmm. And now there's this fear that root canals are toxic, which is not true. Mm-hmm. Now, are there a lot of infected root canals out there? Yes. But the problem is that dentists aren't learning in the manner that they deserve to be educated in. And after doing a requirement of only 2 root canals to graduate, they are free to go out in the world and do them. And then you have specialists who 50% of our practices are dedicated to fixing botched root canals. That's a problem.
50%.
50%. I do the metrics in my practice. Wow. And 50% of what I do is fixing root canals not done correctly, not done with great methods.
Because they get reinfected?
Well, there's rules. So when you're doing a root canal, you got to find every canal and get to the end of every canal. And 5 times out of 10, there's a tooth that was treated that all the canals were not treated. Obviously, you're going to leave bacteria in there. Obviously, you're going to have this infection that continues to linger because it's not the root canal that was the problem. It was the manner in which it was done. And I'm not trying to knock the dentist here because they really were trying to do the best they could with the resources that they were given. This is not the problem. The problem is the lack of the education. And if you think about it, my BHAG, my big, hairy, audacious goal was I want to really decrease global healthcare costs by millions. And you can. Mm-hmm. If we teach patients advocacy, if we teach dentists how to do it better, than what they were taught in dental school, we can make an impact. Because by the time people get the root canal done, it gets infected, they miss work, they have to buy prescriptions, don't feel good, mentally they're ugh. And then they come to me and then I tell them, oh, I have to redo your root canal for a couple $1,000s. Like by the time they meet me, they've already spent $5,000 on one tooth. Yep. No wonder why people hate us. You know what they could have done with that? They could have found Mind Valley on Instagram by accident and put that $5,000 into their personal development. They could have done a bucket list vacation with that money. Like, I want to save people money. I want to save people their time, their energy, their money, and their teeth. And you can do it. And if you are going online and listening to this false news about these root canals are toxic, you're doing your body a disservice. Root canals are regenerative. They don't just save your teeth, they actually regenerate your bone. And if I could be nerdy and show you like PowerPoint after PowerPoint about regenerating bone, like I've had people with craters, like which people call cavitations.
Yeah. And basically the face is like fully out, right?
Well, that's the abscess, but in the bone, there's no bone. The bone gets eroded. But when you do the root canal the right way, you actually get regeneration. The bone comes back.
Bone grows back.
You don't have to take supplements. This is something that already exists within us. We are superhuman. This is one of our powers. It's just like the octopus gets their tentacle bitten off by the shark, and they can grow it back. We have the same power to regenerate our own tissues. But people, for some reason, are not willing to hear that. I try to get on biohacking podcasts, and they're like, sorry, we're not aligned with your mission. And I'm like, oh, that stinks, because I think it could really help people.
Yeah, there's this whole world of biologic dentistry now that's having their day, and which is why I was like, all right, I have to ask Sonia about this. So for those who may or may not know, biologic dentistry is similar to kind of like functional medicine.
Yep.
Where it's like a holistic approach and things like that. And so what do you say to that? And what do you think the misconception is about the way even now you are treating, or your practice is treating, root canals that maybe the general population or even biologic dentistry doesn't even know about?
Right. And I'm pretty sure biological dentistry doesn't know about the way we're doing things in endodontics. In the last 6 years alone, we've had tremendous advancements in technology that people don't even know. Like even like my general dentists in my community don't even know. And biological dentistry has its place for sure. But I also think that a root canal done with the proper methods is proper biology. Because when you remove the bacteria, our immune system has the ability to regrow the bone. And that's crazy. Like even when you, like for example, if somebody experienced trauma, and this is something the world should know, that I'm like, why doesn't every school nurse know about this? Why don't we talk about this at PTA meetings? Because it happens a lot more with children, but it can happen to anyone at any time. If you slip and fall, or you get in an accident and you knock out your front tooth, nobody knows what to do. You're not supposed to take it and put it in a Ziploc bag and go to the emergency room. You're actually supposed to pick it up and put it right back in the socket, because if you can get it back into that socket within less than 30 minutes, it's almost as like the body never knew it was gone. And then your body can actually reattach the tooth to the bone.
Wow.
And that's something that I think every mom should know. Or anybody, school nurse, whatever, like every parent. It could happen to your child, like playing on a trampoline.
Right.
I actually had this beautiful young girl. She was on a trampoline. She got a knee to her face. She lost 3 of her teeth.
Oh, wow.
3 of her front teeth came out, and we had to put her back together. They actually didn't find one of the teeth, so we were able to re-implant 2 of them and then use orthodontics to fix her and get her smile back in order. But imagine if every person on this planet knew that one little tidbit. And I know that everyone's panicking in that moment and they're nervous and maybe they're unsure of how to put it in. But now, you have FaceTime video. FaceTime your dentist. Don't go to the emergency room because they do not know how to handle this. This needs to be done by your dentist. FaceTime them, get some instruction. If you're really nervous, put that tooth in a glass of milk. Don't rinse it with water. Water will kill that tooth. There's these little fibers that attach your tooth into the bone, and those fibers will dry out and die after 30 to 60 minutes. So that's why you need to get it back into the socket.
So put it in milk. So mamas with toddler kids, I mean, I'm always so afraid of that, because I know my kids, my 3-year-old, she's wild and three, and every day I'm like, oh, okay, what's
yeah, but she's still in her baby teeth. But as her adult teeth are coming in, which is around like 6, 7, and you have that buck tooth stage, and the teeth are kind of sticking out this way, if they trip and fall and hit the pavement, that tooth could fly right out. And this happens a lot. This is a big part of my practice. I do a lot of trauma. And
with sports and with things like that.
Yeah, car accident, just even like elderly people trip and fall on the stairs, just freak accident. And I have to reimplant their teeth. So if you just know to put it right back in quickly and get to the dentist, because if you go to the emergency room, you're just going to be sitting there because the guy with the stroke went ahead of you. You need to know what to do and know where to go. And this is the type of empowered information I want patients to get. Because if we know this, if we know that we can save our teeth, if we know the reasons why root canals fail, we as the people can do more to save our money, to save our time, to save our energy, and to save these beautiful pearly whites that give us life.
So for anybody that's watching this right now, listening to this, and is like, okay, I need to get a root canal, but I keep seeing all of these things that tell me not to, what would you say to them first?
I would tell them that root canals are safe. Root canals have come a long way when it comes to technology. We have things like the Gentle Wave now, which is like a power wash for the tooth. It uses sound wave technology to actually pump the disinfection solution through the tooth to get into the hard to reach places, so that essentially your tooth becomes as close to bacteria free as possible. No one's saying that it's going to get 100%, but you recover from a common cold naturally. Why? Because of your immune system. So trust that your immune system is going to do what it needs to do to finish the job. You don't need antibiotics. The root canal is the antibiotic. What it does is it reduces the bacterial load to a certain level, and your immune system can take care of the rest. I mean, it's almost bacteria-free by the time we're done with it. And then we seal it up. And we use crazy technology. We use 3D technology so we can understand the anatomy of the tooth. If you are, I think, for me, I wouldn't get a root canal done without a microscope. So not those little goggles that the dentists use, but a practitioner that uses a microscope so you can see the tiny little hiding canals. That's really important. And 3D technology, gentle wave, and even laser technology. So I use all 4 of those.
Lasers.
Yep. I use all of that in
Never
the
heard
root
of
canal.
that. Never heard of that. Okay, that's the first. Okay.
So all of that goes into the root canal, which is what you're reading about is like an 1800 root canal, like the year 1800. Things have changed, and now they are safe. And if you want to see the evidence, because you have that area of bone resorption, know that it takes time for that bone to fill back in. It takes about a year for bone regeneration to fully complete.
So give it the space and the time that it needs.
Right. So if somebody tells you like, oh, well, we waited a month and it looked like it didn't take, that's
We're not giving it
enough time.
Okay.
And just trust that our bodies were made to be strong, and seek out a specialist if you're really concerned. If you really want to try to get it done once and that's it. Like, do your research on who your provider is. I'm not saying general dentists can't do it. They can. There's a lot of general dentists who've taken the time to really learn the craft beyond dental school. So make sure you find somebody in your community who is really skilled at it, and do your research.
And the last thing that I want to end with, I mean, are dentists coming to you now to learn these techniques and this methodology? And if we have dentists listening to the show, watching the show, and they're like, okay, I've never heard of any of the things that you described, how can they get certified by your approach? What do you have that's there for them? Because I know you literally have been one of the pioneers in this movement.
Yeah. So it starts out as an online curriculum with eSchool, Everyday Endo Made Easy. And it's an online program. And then a lot of dentists are hands-on learners. So there is a core curriculum that we start with, because I have to kind of deconstruct some of the things that dental school taught dentists that are just not right or just are outdated. And then I have to rebuild them. And then they know better and they can start to implement. Some people are fine with learning that way and then just implementing in their practice. And they're really good at it because they do have a lot of experience with endodontics. other people need more hands-on. And so there's actually no other CE course in dentistry in the world that is on live patients. So I created this community give back program. Patients come to my office. They only pay $100. I would honestly make it free if I could, but I need them to show up. And so they pay $100 to reserve their spot. And dentists, I take 5 dentists at a time. They come to my practice and they learn how to do endo over the weekend. They actually do more root canals in that program over 4 days than they do in dental school.
I love that you're doing that. Yeah. That's amazing, because then the patients win, the dentists win, they feel more confident, and maybe they're also then investing in these types of new technologies in their own offices.
Yeah, they get to like utilize the tech without having to make the investment, see if it's right for their practice. They learn techniques that are like it's just a consistent workflow that they have been looking for. And it's easy to implement. And I kind of I just simplify it for them. I'm like, everyone's making it so hard, and it doesn't have to be that hard. Mm-hmm. And it's really a transformational program. Like when they come in on Friday versus when they leave on Monday, I see the transformation. And it's nice because I'm building, it's not like I'm getting somebody right off the street, never done dentistry. I'm building on their clinical experience that they've had up until that point.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So we'll link that in the show notes, drsoniachopra.com/e-school. Correct. E-school. And where can we know all about you? Where can we follow you on IG? If you're on TikTok, if you are online, where can we get
I'm
to
basically
know more?
On Instagram at Dr. Sonia Chopra.
Okay, perfect. Wow. And we ask these questions to everyone that comes on the podcast. What does it mean to be brave?
Being brave to me means being okay doing something I'm not used to doing. Having the courage to do something that makes me a little uncomfortable. It means being safe to be authentic and vulnerable. It means to me being able to trust and surrender and let go, and being authentic and in full alignment.
And one word that describes the season of life.
Ooh, girl, it's change. My life is changing in every realm. My career is changing. 16 years into it, my career is changing. My family is changing. My kids are no longer kids.
How old are they now?
Now they're 14.
What?
11, and my son's going to be 9. And the way they talk to me is different, sometimes good, sometimes bad. Their bodies are changing. Like, they don't want Melissa and Doug arts and crafts anymore. They want makeup. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, they're little women now. And my son's still young, which is nice, but
he's your baby.
He is my baby, and my girls hate that. But like, even my marriage is evolving, and it's been the most beautiful sacred container of life that I could have ever imagined. I'm building a home, so I'm changing so many things. My favorite bagel place just shut down. My favorite cupcake place just shut down, and I'm like, there's like a lot of sadness, but then also a lot of excitement, because I know there's new beginnings, but there's this uncertainty.
It's the best when you get to build a house.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, if I always say, it's like, if you can survive, if you're your partner and you can survive like remodeling or building, game over.
Yeah.
Like, game over. So congrats to
Thanks.
All of the new beginnings.
Thank you.
It's amazing. And I want everyone must run and literally follow you. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad that our paths have like connected over the years, and that you were able to share this wisdom for us here at the Brave Table.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor.
Amazing. Whew. Wow, what a power punched episode that was with Dr. Sonia Chopra. Now, if you have not already followed her, you can go to Dr. Sonia Chopra, and that is, she's on Instagram. And if you're curious about her offerings, if you know a dentist, if you are looking for a dentist, or if you're curious about maybe getting connected with her in some way, go to drsoniachopra.com. That is drsoniachopra.com. And if you have a dentist, or you are a dentist, or you're curious if your dentist knows this methodology, that Dr. Sonia Chopra is teaching, you can go ahead to eSchool at drsoniachopra.com/e-school for more. I will link all of those in the show notes. And if you're curious about navigating motherhood, navigating brave conversations about your health, I've linked 3 additional episodes so that you can dive in, consume, and get your learn on. So without any more I have today for you, if you've loved this episode, go ahead and share this with a friend, family member, colleague, somebody that can use a little bit more bravery in braving different questions, braving different ways to approach our health and to ask maybe a bigger question. And with that, if you love this, go ahead and share what your favorite part was. Maybe we changed your perspective about something. Maybe we open your eyes. We would love to know. Follow us at Neeta Bhushan, at The Brave Table, and tag Dr. Sonia Chopra as well. I will see you next time. Welcome back to the other side. I know we covered a lot in this episode, and I'm so excited when I meet people like Dr. Sonia, who's just so incredible at articulating some of the hard moments that we all go through as human beings, especially when we tend to have it all, especially when we tend to climb the ranks of life. And then we realize, hey, is this all that I was doing? Is this all that I was doing this for? And what it feels like to be in our dharma and to be working from our dharma. And so if you want to connect with Dr. Sonia Chopra with all of her offerings, go ahead, and she's on Instagram. You can learn so much about her as she shares about her life, about how she lives a thriving life at Dr. Sonia Chopra. And if you are a dentist, or if you know somebody that's a dentist or an endodontist that's looking to get more schooled in this line of work with all of the best assets in technology and all of the best tools, she takes dentists through a 4-day deep dive in her own office where you actually get trained one-on-one by some of the most cutting edge technologies that is out there to save teeth better and to do better endodontics. You can go ahead to drsoniachopra.com/e-school for more info, and I will link that below in the show notes. And finally, if you are curious to know more about your healing journey, about your leadership as a woman, as a mother, or maybe more episodes on motherhood itself, I've linked a couple of different episodes for you to get the juice on. And if you love this episode, if it changed your perspective in one way or another, please don't be stingy. Share this episode with a friend, a family member, somebody that could use a little bit more bravery in asking different questions. If you love this, go ahead. What are you waiting for? Click that follow button or that subscribe button. It really helps us grow the show more than you know. And if you haven't already, tell us what you think. Either comment in the comment section or tag us at The Brave Table on Instagram or at Neeta Bhushan. Thank you so much for tuning in week after week. It really helps our entire community and get into the hands of more and more people who are just trying to be more brave. I will see you next time.